Hello, everybody, and welcome to Where Are They Now? My name is Eddie Mata, and this is brought to you by Malibu Clothes. Get your suits right here in Beverly Hills at the Malibu Clothes building. Today's guest, former MLB player. Played for 4 different teams, had a 14-year career, and he put up some impressive numbers. Here he is, Shawn Green. How are you, buddy?
Great. How you doing, Eddie?
I'm doing great. So nice to see you. So talk to me. What's going on with your life right now? Welcome to the show. Where are they now?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'm happy to be on the show. Yeah, and I retired in 2007 was my last year playing with the Mets. And since then, I've written a book and did a little speaking, a little bit of that, the book Hoopla tour stuff, and which has been great. That was fun. And I've messed around with a few startups. I love the technology, so I started a company called Jock Talk. Which is a sports social media site that you introduced you to a year ago, about a year ago, and yeah, now I'm messing around with a new little project that's kind of in stealth mode, but it's also kind of attached to the sports and social media world.
And how's the family? How the kids? How old are the little girls now?
Yeah, they're great. My oldest is in 5th grade, so she's turning 11 in the winter here, and then my little one's 8, second grader, 2 girls, and that's why I left the game pretty young. I was turning 35 when I left the game, and had some good opportunities to keep going, but the girls would always cry when I was gone. Traveling around got to be a bit tough, so for me, the right decision at the time was to step back and spend some time at home with the family. My daughters are really into dance, so now I'm basically like another mom.
Well, what's it like now? I mean, when they say, "Daddy, when are you gonna come home?" I mean, does that like give you the butterflies? Like, oh, I love my kids to death. You know what I mean? Is that what it gives you?
Yeah, no, it's great. I think this is a great age right now. When I was playing in New York, it was tough because my wife had, at the time, the kids were about 3 or 4 years old, and the older one was 3 or 4, the little one was 1 or 2. So she's in New York. She's a California girl, beach girl.
Yeah, I could see that.
not used to hailing cabs and with strollers and the rain, and so all that stuff was a shock for her. She loves adventure, but it's tough when you have little babies. So now they're at good ages. One of the only things I remember from when I played is that one time we were in Philadelphia and I brought them the giveaway that day was like a pizza Elmo thing or something. Yeah. So I brought it home. That's all I remember is that I brought home a pizza Elmo. So I tried to tell them that, hey, I played baseball. I wasn't too bad,
Yeah. So now you went to high school, Tustin High School. Where's that at?
It's right near Anaheim, close to the Angels. It's about 10, 15 minutes from Anaheim Stadium. And yeah, so I grew up there. I bounced around a little bit as a kid, but yeah, I ended up at Tustin High. And there's been a couple other players that have come out of there. Heath Bell is a former Tustin Tiller.
I think Mark Grace too, right?
Mark Grace was about 9, 10 years before me.
When you got drafted, you had an offer to go to Stanford University, but you declined because, you got a nice signing bonus, I imagine. Is that why?
Yeah, it was a tough decision, really, because I'd always thought I was going to go on and play in college and, take that step and then go on to the professional ranks. But, I got drafted the first round by the Blue Jays, and it kind of came down to, like a lot of negotiations, came down to the end. I was 18 years old, so I didn't really know what to do. I just wanted to play baseball, and they kind of, I think the way I handled it, and I had an advisor, and you're not allowed to have an agent until you're actually professional. But the way I handled it was, I was like, if they hit a certain number, then I'm going to sign, and they hit that number, and it didn't really make a difference to me because, whether they fell a little bit short or not, it's still a lot of money. It's just trying to make a decision point, and that's what I did, and they hit it, and I signed.
In 1993, you got called up towards the end of the season. Did you experience October with them?
No, I didn't. I got a ring, though.
You got a ring.
In fact, it's right here. I'll grab it if you want to see it.
Yeah, let me see that rock. But were you there when Joe Carter hit that home run?
Old Blue Jays one. You see it?
Oh, yeah. That's gorgeous. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, so, it's cool.
Shawn, do that one more time. Let's do that again. Let me see that ring. Just shake it around a little bit.
See the diamonds?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so, it's nice to have, but I wasn't really a part of the team. I was there. I don't think my 0 for 6 in September helped the team at all. But, it was nice to get the ring, get called up. I wish I would have had a chance to earn one while I was actually really playing, which my best chance was with the Mets in 06, and we lost a tough game 7 to St. Louis.
St. Louis, yeah, I remember that. Yadier Molina, right? He did something.
Yadier, yeah.
Yeah. Now, when you got called up, where were you at the time? Who gave you the news like, hey, Shawn, welcome to the big leagues, you're going?
Yeah, well, the September one wasn't as big a deal because it was expanded rosters. But when I felt like it was for real was in '94. I was in AAA and I was having a great, my first really big year as a professional. I was at the time I was hitting about 380, and in mid-May I was doing great. And Carlos Delgado was the starting left fielder that year and had a great April in which he hit I think he had 8 home runs in April, which was maybe a rookie record or whatever it was. And then he struggled really bad. So all of a sudden they moved me to left field, and he was my good friend. So I was hitting well, and then one day our AAA hitting coach was Bill Buckner, and Bill Buckner just said to me, "Yeah, pretty good hitter." Right. People remember him for the wrong thing, but he could hit. Yeah. 2,750 hits.
Yeah, exactly.
So he just said, "Hey, you ready?" And I just said, "Yeah." I didn't really think anything of it. I thought he was talking about the game in AAA. And then I took batting practice, and all of a sudden I went inside and they scratched me off the lineup. So I got butterflies. As soon as I saw my name scratched, I knew what it meant because it wasn't there's only one thing it could be at that time. And then they called me, the manager, Bob Didier, called me in his office, and Bill Buckner was in there, who I got along really well with. And I knew exactly what they were saying. They didn't have to say anything. And it was a big thrill.
Now, with Carlos Delgado, what was this game you guys played together in batting practice? You would try to hit the straightaway center wall or something like that?
Yeah, it just kind of started off in '98. All of a sudden, I started kind of figuring out how to hit. Carlos always had power. He'd always hit about 30 home runs a year in the minor leagues, and I was never a power guy. But I started to learn my swing, and so we were in the same batting practice group, and I started being able to hit the ball to center field and left with some authority, and I started challenging him. So, long story short, it just turned into a game where we were trying to hit the ball as far as we could. We'd set up every stadium we'd go to, like in Toronto, for example, there was the restaurant, the windows, the glass in center field. They changed all that since a little bit, but so we'd say if you hit the windows, it was 4 points. The foul pole was the gap sign in right center. So we didn't want to pull anything. We just wanted to work on hitting the ball up the middle the other way. And then, if you hit it into these seats, it's 2 points. So we had this whole point system, and the hitting coach was Gary Matthews Sr., and so he'd kind of egg it on and stir the pot, and whoever won at the end of each month, we would keep score, and that guy would buy dinner for the other guy and for Gary. And that's really how I started becoming a power hitter. Is I started practicing every day, hitting the ball as far as I could to center field. At first, they were barely going over, and then after a couple months of doing that, I kind of figured out how to hit the ball, in the second deck and
But physically, you had it. Let's talk about mentally. One time, you really felt like the team was like inconsistent with you because they would sit you against lefties. Is that true?
What happened was I was kind of at odds at the time with Cito Gaston, and the hitting coach was Willie Upshaw. And Cito, he really liked the veteran players because he had just won a couple World Series with veteran guys, and we had a really good system. Guys like Delgado, Alex Gonzalez, we were all coming up through there. Chris Carpenter, Roy Halladay. I mean, all these guys were in the minor leagues when the team was winning the World Series. So he really wanted the veteran guys. I think they were kind of at odds, the front office, and he was kind of resisting this movement of youth. And so, they, even though I did well my first few years, hitting in, close to 290 with, whatever, I kept platooning, even though we were out of the race, and I was frustrated. Long story short, they kept trying to make me into a pull hitter, and I resisted that. So I had to try to sneak to the batting cage and try to do my work the way I wanted to do it. One day, they kind of caught me sneaking in there and said, "Hey, you're not allowed to go there anymore without my supervision." That was Willie said that. He wanted me just to pull everything, to work on pulling, to be more of a power hitter. So anyway, so everything was was jumbled for me like that, and it's frustrating. So I just started hitting off the batting tee into a net, and after a little while, I noticed that I started to feel this kind of meditation and this different. It was a lot more powerful than to my swing and to my well-being than just going there and taking mindless swings the way I had in the past. So anyway, I started to do that, and for the rest of my career, I started hitting off the tee every day. And the next year, new manager came in, I got a chance to play every day, and that's really when things took off for me.
How important is it to be relaxed at the plate, Shawn? I know you actually admitted, like, sometimes you let the game get to your head. There was times you weren't hitting right. especially when you signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Expectations were huge by you. I mean, you had a 6-year, $84 million contract. What were the thoughts going through your head? Like, did you say to yourself, I gotta hit 40 home runs. I gotta hit what I did last year. I gotta be even better.
Yeah.
Did you feel that way?
Yeah, and the hard part was more the home runs because, my batting average, a lot of times I start off slow, go up, goes up and down. But the home runs, if you're halfway through the season, you got 10 home runs and you're supposed to hit, 40 home runs, and that's what you're getting paid to do. It's a lot of pressure. And the more you start trying to do it, the more your swing gets messed up and you start getting in bad habits, and it's it's not good. And you see it every single year. You see different guys, whether it's Josh Hamilton coming over to the Angels and struggling, Pujols the year before. There's always guys who sign big deals or go to a new team and they want to show their worth, and they want to not only show it to the fans but show it to the organization that's paying them, show it to their teammates who watch them a lot on TV but don't see them every day. So there's a lot of expectations, and it's really tough. Hitting's tough. I mean, you can see how hard it is when you got a guy who's one of the best hitters ever, Albert Pujols, come over to the Angels, and he's had some injuries, and he's obviously older than he was in St. Louis. But for the first quarter of a season last year, in 2012, he was amongst the worst hitters in the league.
Yeah. And
here's a guy who's going to be a Hall of Famer. So that's how fine the line is between being one of the best ever and struggling. Right. And I fell into that trap. I've seen a lot of other guys fall into the same trap, and you're going to see a lot more in the future fall into that.
With the huge Jewish community in Los Angeles, did you feel extra pressure or responsibility being the first Dodger Jewish player since Sandy Koufax?
Well, I mean, Sandy he's such an icon. He still is. I mean, I think of all the living players right now, you got to put him up there with Willie Mays and Derek Jeter. No, you got to put him up there.
But you better say a Yankee. You better say Yankee, Sean.
No, but Willie's really the guy, but Sandy's the guy too. So I think he's such a legend, not just amongst the Jews, but especially with the Jews. And he wore the same uniform that I wore, but he wore it in the '60s, and he set a high bar for the as far as being respectful to the Jewish community and being a good role model and all that stuff. So I got to know Sandy over the years when I was a Dodger, and great human being as well as obviously a great talent in his day. So I tried to do some of the things that he did, whether it's sitting out for Yom Kippur. Or just trying to be the role model that is expected of an athlete in Los Angeles.
Now, speaking of Yom Kippur, I know you mentioned this before, that let's say you're still playing right now, okay, and it's the wild card happens to come on Yom Kippur, and Sean, you're the hottest hitter, and they need you.
Right. Are
you going to sit out?
Yeah, I mean, I would call Bud Selig and beg him. He's Jewish. I'd say, hey, man, you got to hook another Jew up, man. You got to do it. I don't know what it'd be tough. I mean, a couple times it fell on a night game, day game where the holiday runs from sundown to sundown, so it conflicted with two games. And I'm not very religious, but I still wanted to show respect for my heritage.
In your book, you mentioned that.
You read it?
I read it, yeah.
You didn't read it.
I read it. You asked me, give me a trivia question right now.
Okay, no, I trust. I believe you.
All right, I even know how you met Lindsay.
Okay.
Right? You saw her hair from behind.
Yeah.
Okay, and you were like, wow, this girl's beautiful. But you felt so confident. Before you would hear voices, nah, I'm going to get rejected. But this time, you just went up to her.
I think ready to go.
Oh, you see that? No, don't test me. I'm prepared now. Tell me about how did Randy Johnson, you studied the game so well, how did you tip off his pitches? You had Greg Maddux. You were hitting these guys awesome. And you know what? If I'm going to face Greg Maddux, it's an automatic out. I face Randy Johnson, I'm scared. I'm a left-handed hitter. How did you see that?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I learned, and I learned it from Cito Gaston and Joe Carter and Robbie Alomar and those guys. But at the time, I was so in my own head that I couldn't. I was analyzing too much. And if you're up there thinking a lot,
right.
You play the game. If you're up there thinking, you can't swing and react and have the right approach. So it took a few years for me to kind of get past all the mechanical stuff and get to the point where I was more present in my time at the plate. And once I did that, I started seeing all these things that I had never seen before. Like, I started to realize how they were trying to get me out. I started to sit on pitches a lot more. And then I got really good at seeing how they tip their pitches. So, for example, a lot of pitchers will have their glove they hold a fastball like this, and they hold a changeup like this. So their glove might be like this on a fastball, and when they throw a changeup, their glove gets a little bigger. So
wow. Yeah.
It's subtle, and you think you're 60 feet, 6 inches away. So it's to go from there to there is a little different, but it's not a huge amount. And then the other thing is, like with Maddox, he'd have his hand on the ball, so when he went over his head, I could see this part of his hand in his throwing hand, in his glove, when he went over his head on the fastball, and on the changeup and curveball, he was tucked in deeper, so it looked more like that. So I started to notice that stuff, and Carlos Delgado's was always great at it, and there's always a handful of guys. But my thing was, if I could know what's coming, I got to figure out sometime what the pitch is. It's better when it's before he throws the ball than when the ball's halfway at me, to try to figure out what pitch it was. So that's how I had success against some of the tougher pitchers. That's a guy like Smoltz and Kurt Schilling and Randy and Maddox. I knew what they were throwing, and
who had
those guys were so good.
Who had the nastiest slider between Smoltz and Schilling? Did Schilling have a nasty slider?
Schilling, they both. See, for me, the pitch that was tough was the cutter. That's why a guy like Rivera, for me, was the worst. I didn't want to see him ever. I would bring my worst bat up there because I didn't want to. He'd break my bat every time.
Guarantee, right?
So yeah, I didn't want to. I didn't want to use my.
I talked to LaDuca and I said, "Hey, what was it like facing Mariano?" Every ball player I interview, I always ask them, "What's it like facing Mariano?" Because it's his final year. I love the Yankees, and it's like. And LaDuca said, with righties, he could get away. You could get away a little bit, but I'll tell you, I will go in the dugout, and Shawn Green would be like, "God, I can't stand this guy. This guy eats me up."
Yeah, and it's funny because I remember watching the World Series when they beat the Braves. I think in '96?
Yeah, 96.
Yeah, 96. And watching Chipper and Klesko laughing at each other because there's one guy came back with a broken bat, and because I'm sure one of them said the other, "This guy's ridiculous." And then the other guy goes up there and he's laughing at him. So that's how good he is. We used to have Jose Cruz and Tony Fernandez, switch hitters. They would bet right-handed against Rivera. And that's the only guy they bet right-handed against.
What do you think about the Dodgers this year, Shawn? You think they have a shot going to the big stage?
Oh, yeah. And I think the first round is the toughest because it's short round. You got to win 3 games. And I think if they get by the first round, I don't see how anyone could beat them. Just because of Kershaw, Greinke, and Ryu. I think that is the key. And then their bullpen's strong with Wilson there, and what's his name, Kensley.
Yeah,
Kensley.
But here's my question. Here's how I look at it. Look, I agree with you a little bit, but the closer has to prove to me he could get the last 3 outs.
So
That's what I'm thinking.
No, I understand, but I think they're strong enough there. And Donnie, your Yankee Donnie baseball, he's gonna, you don't mess around in the playoffs, so you don't worry about anyone's feelings. If the closer's struggling, they're gonna go with Wilson or whoever it is. So, but the thing about it is, Kensley is the closest as far as his stuff is the closest thing to Rivera that there has been. He throws a 95-mile-an-hour cutter. He's just not as I don't think he's quite at that level where he's control exactly where he wants, throw exactly where he wants, and where he's so confident in it that he'll just stick with it no matter what. Whereas Rivera will just keep firing that same pitch and knows that he's not going to miss over the plate, so a guy's going to, a left-hand hitter is going to hit it out.
Talk to me about the 4 home runs in 1 game.
Yeah, it was, it was crazy because the week before that, the year before I hit 49 home runs, set the Dodger record,
49.
And so I had this huge bar, this huge high expectations. Then the next year, we're in mid-May, and I have 3 home runs. I'm hitting 230. I'm getting booed at home for the first time. We're playing the Mets and the Expos, and I'm 0 for 18. So I'm hitting 230. I'm getting booed. My last at bat at home, I hit a double, and that broke my 0 for streak. So I was happy to go on the road just to put on the gray uniform and not have to listen to the boos and all that. So we go to Milwaukee, and I'd been working and getting better. Actually, I went to this energy healer too, who did this stuff on the day before I left. It was supposed to fix all my chi and this and that. And so he helped me, I think, because then the next day we go to we're in Milwaukee, and I hit 2 home runs the first game. So I'm like, all right, I'm starting to get the feel of it. I wasn't locked in by any stretch, but I felt okay. And the next day I hit a triple and scored, and we won 1-0. And then the next day, it was a day game, and first at bat I had 2 strikes and battled and hit a little double inside the line. And next at bat I homered, And then I guess the next three at bats, I homered. So I was getting each at bat. I was like, okay, I'm locked in now. I got it. And then next at bat, I hit a single, and then the manager was going to pull me out. Jim Tracy's like, all right, we got a big lead. Just go take it in, take a shower. And I was like, well, if a couple guys get on, I might get, I'll get up again. So might as well stay in. Which I'm surprised I even said that because I was, it's kind of nice to get pulled out of a blowout.
Yeah.
So
So
I go up there, and Beltre hits a 2-out home run to left field, and then the second pitch I hit out, and it was just, I went from being like one of the worst players in the league to being the hottest that I had ever been. And the next day we go to Arizona, and the first pitch I saw, Kurt Schilling, I hit a home run.
Nice.
And then the next day, 2 more. So it was like this crazy stretch of being completely locked in. And
currently, you were actually played for the Israeli team that tried to get qualified for the World Classic. Baseball team?
I was. They came to Brad Osmus, Gabe Kapler, and myself, and asked, a couple years ago, to see if one of us wanted to manage the team or coach or be involved in any way, play. And so we talked about it, and Osmus kind of has potential aspirations to be a manager someday because he could probably get a job today if he wanted to. I think he'll be a great manager. So we said, okay, why don't you manage? And I said, well, I'll be a player coach, and Kapler felt the same way. Kapler's in great shape.
Actually, I'm going to interview Kapler in November. I got in touch with him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
And he said, so we'll be player coaches. And he ended up pulling out of the playing side because something was bothering him in his leg. So he was just a coach, and I was a hitting coach / DH, and we went out to Florida. We got to play with some great young guys, a couple big league guys that currently, like Josh Satin was there, and great guy. And Jock Peterson, Nate Fryman, who's now with the A's. But Jock Peterson's one of the top prospects for the Dodgers, if not the top prospect.
Give me your life now. You wake up in the morning, then what?
Yeah. I wake up in the morning, take my kids to school pretty much every day, grab some breakfast. I work out a couple days a week, still try to stay in shape. And, some days I'll go work with a kid or two and help them with their hitting. I'm starting messing around with these building this mobile app, sports-related mobile app. I really like the technology stuff. That's why I like doing these kind of Skype-type interviews and stuff for YouTube. It's fun. And then I'm a lot of chauffeuring the girls around to their dance classes and spending time with the family.
That means you're a real man. Remember Marlon Brando in The Godfather?
Yeah.
He said, if you don't spend time with your family, you're not a real man. Remember
That's
that?
right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so it's good.
Shawn, it's been a pleasure. And there's one more question. I always end with this.
Okay.
If there was a biography about Shawn Green, what actor would you hire to play Shawn Green?
Okay, well, it's funny. I'm going to give you an answer you're not going to expect.
Okay.
And it's because more than any other actor, this is who people have said that I look like.
Go ahead.
Will Smith.
Yeah, I could see a white Will Smith without a doubt.
Will Smith.